Okay, handicaps. First handicap of the meeting is the Ultima. So rather than run you through prices, we'll just give the prices as they get put up. As ever, we're going to start off with a trend for this race. We won't be doing it like that for every race, but it's worth betting the trend in for this race because it's the first one we're doing. So over to you with that in mind, Matt Toombs.
So the trend is that every winner this century had run over at least 3 miles over fences. 9 had run over a marathon trip. That's 3 miles, 3 furlongs or further. And the point here is that this is usually the first ride of the meeting for about 3/4 of the jockeys. The adrenaline pumping through the veins. They often go too quickly. So this becomes a real test of stamina at the trip. And every year, horses line up with flashy profiles, having been running over short and intermediate trips. Punters latch onto them as improvers at 3 miles and they don't get home. This year, the obvious one with the stamina doubt is Nassalan, who hasn't been beyond an extended 2-4 so far. I'd be keen to oppose him.
And you are going with last year's winner, not the only person to be doing that either, Matt.
Yeah, that's right. I suspect the ground's going to be slower this year, and he needed every minute of it last time. It just got there, sort of Red Sea open for him at the right time. I think with a bit more of a stamina test this year, horses who have a hold-up tactic are well favoured by this because of the nature of the race. And it's not an original selection, but I do think he's the right favourite and a good favourite.
What do you want to add to that, Deasy?
Nothing too much. He's not a great price now. He's favourite for a reason. He was very good last year. He's £6 more this year. I think if you put that £6 on his back last year, he probably would have still won it. He's a good solid horse, and I can't see him out of the first 3 or 4 at the very least, and he is a win place price at the moment. So have a bit on the win and the place.
Why does it feel like to me, Dan, overall, and I might be plucking this out of thin rubbish air, that last year's renewal just didn't. I don't know whether I feel it was that strong. Maybe that's just the nature of the Ultima, where you can get these surprise British winners against maybe the Irish hot pots who disappoint. But I don't know. I didn't look at that race and go, "Whoa, what a belting renewal that was."
Or maybe because Oscar Elite was still bang there with a chance, and that would always be a big red flag for me. I really don't like that horse.
Wasn't he? Because of Frodon last year.
Yeah, he was out of the weights, as was Jericho Rock as well, who was 4th, who ran well in the Ladbroke Trophy thereafter. I think it was probably average renewal. I do think Correct Rambler was an extraordinary winner just based on the way he stormed through. But I don't know. I agree. I think it's pretty average. I wouldn't be overly critical of it, to be honest.
Who do you fancy then, and why?
It's kind of a long-term fancy, and it is ground dependent. I think you noted as much as well, Tom, that in Lord Accord, like he's going to need it on the quicker side, and obviously reports in recent days and the coming days to come about the rain forecast are somewhat murky. It would need to be good to soft at the slowest for him to have a chance, but he's been a long-term fancy of mine for this race. He won at the course in October when he probably wasn't necessarily thought it would suit him, given how he's run previously, but he was really impressive that day in what was admittedly a fairly weak race. It was the same race the Conditional won the same season he won the Ultima. He really did hit the hill quite hard that day, which I think is always notable. Second to Frodon in the Badger Beers, where he should have probably been closer, but for clouting the last. Ran in the Ladbroke Trophy, probably a bit too much for him on a quick turnaround that day, but was been given the Druid's Nephew prep by going to the Cleve Hurdle, and Neil Mulholland did exactly the same with the Druid's Nephew. Untempour 2 did the same on his second attempt, and when he won the Ultima for the second time. So it's a proven route to success. I still think there's room to work with at a mark of 137. It is just the issue of the ground. If it's good to soft or quicker, I think he's got a great chance. If not, his chance is probably gone.
I totally agree with that. Helen Sheridan says Lord Accord, the Druid's Nephew Mark II. Well, it is. I mean, he's following a very similar path, having run at Cheltenham, different meeting. I think one went in October, one went in November, I think. And then going on to the Cleve for all the Druid's Nephew, I think was 10-1 for the Cleve, whereas this horse was 66-1, no chance. But he's given a run for it. The ground's just so frustrating. Again, he's a bit of a long-term fancy of mine. He looked a spring horse, so he looks a ground horse, and I just can't believe we're going to get that. So I don't know how you're approaching it, Dan, but I actually haven't backed him yet, and I'd want it to be no worse than good to soft on the day for me to back him. So it probably means I'm not going to back him.
Yeah, I mean, I've backed him in, I think, January before he ran in the Cleve, so I'm a bit stuffed. But it's one of those, this is the chance you take with anti-post punting, as we know.
You've got another one that ran in what I called a poor renewal last year. Why no one has said the Grand National winner ran in it, you dick, I don't know, but the Grand National winner did run in it. There you are. Jonesy, you like Oscar Elite.
Yeah, my best bet of the entire festival was in this race last year, and it was the Grand National winner who's since won listed in grade. And if he was off this mark this time, he would be about 5s on. So thanks for that. Oscar Elite, he ran very well in it last year. He was third. He was caught very wide in it. He has got a bit of an inconsistent record because he's got a lot of problems, and it's just a horse that I think who's taken a long time to get over those problems, but he won very well last time, even though it was only a 3-runner race. You go back to his Chase debut, he would have, if he hadn't have fallen, I think it was 2 out of 3 out at Cheltenham, he would have beaten 3 under through 5, and does he know? And that's the kind of engine he's got. He shouldn't, although his best form on good ground over fences, he's got a couple of wins over on heavy ground over hurdles. So it was a horse with good course form who should run his race, in my opinion.
Daniel Hussey says, is the cheer at the Mares was said on Racing TV? Yeah, good one. I got icy and said that. I saw a picture that he put up potentially with the Racing Post. Yeah, announced that on Racing TV. There you go. Well done. Peter's Punt says, no love for Happy Go Lucky. Does anybody have anything to say on Happy Go Lucky? Speak now or forever hold your peace.
Yeah, I did consider him, but I think he's got a lot of weight for a horse that is getting on a bit these days and has also had problems. So he's had those 2 runs since missing 18 months. Excuse me. But he's another one that you can see running well, yeah. But I just got a lot of weight to lug around there, especially if it goes soft.
The yard are a bit quiet as well, which is just in the back of my mind. Does anybody know whether Fast or Slow is going to run here or in the plate? Because surely he goes for the plate, but the market in this for him has been pretty well held up. Anybody know anything about that?
Don't know anything for sure, but other than what you said, Tom, there was a big move for him for the Ultima earlier in the week. But like you, I mean, I backed him for the plate as well. I would be amazed if he turned up in the Ultima, but
he's never run over
money
this
for him.
It seems strange. No. DC, did you have another one? Come back.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah,
I've picked out 2 horses for most of the races because I don't know what the ground is, but I wanted to give this fella a shout. It's Cloudy Glen, Venetia Williams' horse. He's a big price there. I think he's about 25.0, 26.0, but he is good form at the festival before. He finished second behind Mount Ida there a few years ago, and in the Kim Muir. He probably could have qualified for the Kim Muir, but he's entered in this. He had a nice warm up there at Haydock behind Quick Wave a few weeks ago. I can see him running a big race, and if you want something at a nice big price, because we've kind of tipped some of the head of the market there, I wouldn't put anyone off a bet on Cloudy Glen.
Okay, Matt, just on the ground, I feel like you not know the forecast better than anyone, but know where we're likely to be and how they tend to approach the ground. Certainly in recent years, you've done a big article on the watering, etc. What do you expect if the rain turns up? What do you think the ground is going to be for the festival?
I think it's going to be probably soft on the Tuesday. They put 30 mils on the other day. There's obviously all that high water table, which is what I was talking about in the article about being like a dual purpose course like Sandown, where they water the flat course in the summer. So much watering in the autumn. The high water table, 30 mils gone on, load of rain and snow now. 4 of the last 5 years, we've started on soft or heavy. And I imagine the most likely scenario now is probably going to start on soft again. Just also when we get back to the new course, because that wasn't watered so heavily in the autumn, you might find that the ground's quite a bit quicker on that.
And that's what John Pullen said today on Racing TV, that it's definitely quite it's new course is slightly better at this stage, probably in keeping with the cross country course. So that's what we're expecting. Okay, we move on to the